Welcome to the latest in what I didn't intend to become a continuing series about various methods of capturing and digitizing analog video. But when I saw this on the shelf at the thrift store for 20 bucks, it definitely caught my eye. Dazzle has been one of the higher quality brands of video capture devices for many years, and this is one of their older efforts. Just how old is it? It's from 2002. But unlike most other video capture devices of its age, this one captures video in the DVD format. That's the MPEG-2 video codec, which is still an industry standard and widely supported today. On the back it mentions the DVD encoder chip inside, and it has S-video composite and stereo audio inputs and a USB output. Despite its name of DVD Creation Station 200, I probably won't be actually using it to create DVDs, but I may try out this old video editing software it comes with on a period correct computer. It requires at least a 500 MHz processor, 128 megabytes of RAM, Windows 98 or newer, and USB 1.1 or above. And I have a PC from the early 2000s which meets all these requirements. This had an original list price of $229, and it got partially torn off when I removed the thrift store price tag that was covering it, but it looks like CompUSA was selling it for that price as well. Inside the box we get the capture device itself. I assume in here is the power supply for it, and a bunch of manuals, and hopefully the CD with the software on it. There it is, hiding in the bottom of the box, and there's also some AV cables back there. It also should have come with a USB cable, but that was missing, so I grabbed one of my spare ones. It's the older kind with the square connector, most commonly used by printers. It also came with a stand to mount it vertically, and this ad for 512 megabyte memory cards in either Smart Media, Secure Digital, or multimedia card format. Speaking of which, the capture device itself doubles as a card reader for those formats, as well as Sony memory stick, which I guess would have been useful back in 2002. Also, it's not just a capture device. It can also be used to output video from your computer to the composite or S-video outputs. As it says on the box, output to videotape. And here is that period correct PC. It's a Compaq Despro EN from 2001, and it's flying high with a 1 GHz Intel Pentium 3 processor. And it's running Windows 2000. Now let me try installing the software. The product key, in case you need it, is shell SQMTCR NR01. And now it's giving me a choice of installing the hardware driver and utilities on DVD, Movie Star, DVD Complete, and Acrobat. Well, obviously I don't need Acrobat Reader. And I'm not going to be burning any DVDs on this computer because it doesn't even have a DVD burner. So I'll leave off those two programs. So I'll just install the driver and the Movie Star video editing software. Here is that Movie Star software, and it's giving us choices of DV, Video CD, S-Video CD, DVD, and multimedia, and we can choose either NTSC or PAL. But I'll just leave it on the defaults of DVD and NTSC. Now I plugged in the Dazzle capture device, and I connected a video camera to test it with. Now I'll click on this hard to read button that says capture. And do we get an image? Select device, DCS200. Okay, is that going to work? Hello? Oh, took a while. Aha! And the video image is about a 2-second delay between when I actually move my hand in front of the camera and when it shows up on the screen of the computer. And I did try adjusting the brightness, contrast, and hue, so that did help a little bit, and I also switched it to S-Video, and it is set to the NTSC DVD resolution of 720 by 480, So now I'll try recording. Okay, and there's our captured video file in the media browser, and I'll try dragging it down to the timeline. And now can we play it? Okay, we are recording the first test video. I'll start my cassette player and see how this comes out using the Dazzle DVD Creation Station 200 running on a Pentium 3 computer in Windows 2000. Okay, that frame rate was terrible, but that could just be the limitation of this software running on this computer. So I'll try to extract that file it recorded and put it directly into the video so you can see what the actual quality looks like. Okay, we are recording the first test video. I'll start my cassette player and see how this comes out using the Dazzle DVD Creation Station 200 running on a Pentium 3 computer in Windows 2000. Hey, I don't think that looks too bad. It did indeed record a standard MPEG-2 file with a video bitrate of around 4.5 megabits at the full frame rate of 59.94 interlaced fields per second, and the audio is actually uncompressed 16-bit 48 kilohertz PCM. Now I'm going to try capturing some video from VHS, and continuing with the period correct theme, I'm using a Sanyo VCR from 2003. This is on the verge of being one of those last gasp VCRs I did a video about, except it does have hi-fi stereo, as well as built-in TVG technology, better known as TV Guardian. The manual recommends connecting a TV to the output jacks to serve as a preview monitor, and I concur because in addition to the lag, the little preview window on the computer has no sound. Plus, one nice thing is that any adjustments you make to the video being captured also are reflected on that preview monitor.
We're extremely proud of the fact that in an industry dominated by bicycles imported from the Far East, we're proving that American ingenuity and innovation can compete. We're equally proud of the fact that Cannondale bicycles manufactured here are exported to more than 60 countries around the world. The ideas and inspirations that go into every Cannondale bicycle had their source here, on race courses around the world where teams of Cannondale-sponsored athletes compete. Athletes like 3 times cross-country world champion Alison Sider, UCI World Cup Downhill Series champion Missy Giovi, 2-time Norba National champion Tinker Juarez, and Giro Italia winner Ivan Gatti. We sponsor more than 50 professional cyclists that collectively compete in every discipline of cycling. The feedback these athletes provide, coupled with our flexible design and manufacturing systems, allow us to introduce innovative new designs far more rapidly than any other company in the bicycle industry.
For VHS, I think that looks excellent, but this was a professionally duplicated recording from 1998. Now how about a recording made on December 3rd, 1985 from over-the-air broadcast TV?
NBC Monday Night at the Movies will continue following these messages.
Tuesday on Riptide.
Somebody stole the robot?
But who?
Robin Hood. #1 public enemy. Robin Hood.
Then Remington Steele's almost dead on his feet when his next client is a corpse.
I'm dead.
This case may be murder, but the Steele Agency delivers.
On time, every time, all the time.
Tuesday. Will it be you? Will your family be the first to witness the birth of the incredible Nintendo Entertainment System? The first to play with Rob, the extraordinary video robot. He follows the commands you put on screen so you get to the dynamite before it explodes. Will you be the first to raise the incredibly accurate zapper and play games like Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley? The first to get all this in one package, the Nintendo Entertainment System. The first to move video action off the TV screen.
Over the years, the search for a good car or truck at an affordable price led to your local Ford dealer. That's the way it was then and now. Today, you can save $368 in a specially equipped 86 Tempo GL, complete with power steering, AM/FM stereo with cassette, tilt wheel, power locks, and more. It's a driver's car at a buyer's price at your Ford dealer. Where else?
It's our time, Ford dealers. It's our time again.
Bank employees held hostage in New Jersey at 11.
We continue with John and Yoko, a love story, starring Kim Miori and Mark McGann.
And it has no problem with Macrovision encoded video. The one quirk is that it includes so much of the overscan area that you can actually see the closed caption encoding at the top of the frame.
My name is Ren McCormick, and I would like to move on behalf of most of the senior class of Beaumont High School that the law against public dancing within the town limits of Beaumont be abolished.
You may remember it mentioned the ability to output video from the computer to videotape. The way you do that in the included Movie Star software is you click on Produce, and then you click on the little icon of a camcorder. It says Output to Camcorder/VCR/TV, and you select the DCS-200. Now I'll put a blank tape in the VCR. And I'll press play on the computer and press record on the VCR. And here's our masterpiece being played back from VHS tape. Okay, this is being recorded to VHS tape. And then when I'm done, I'm going to play it back from the VCR and capture it back into the computer using the Dazzle DVD Creation Station 200. So far, I've spent several hours messing around with the Dazzle DVD Creation Station 200, and so far it has worked perfectly every time. Absolutely no problems with either the hardware or software. Now let's open it up and take a look at what's inside it. There's quite a lot going on in here. That's the compact flash card slot, and interestingly, the card reader for SD cards, memory sticks, and smart media cards is in its own little daughter board here. There's the chip that converts the analog video inputs to digital. It's a Philips SAA7114. It supports NTSC, PAL, and CCAM. It also supports some features that I don't think this device enables, such as closed captioning and teletext decoding. It has a comb filter, but it does not have a time-based corrector. The largest chip on the board is a C-Cube DVXL, which does simultaneous MPEG-2 video encoding and decoding. And next to it are 4 Hynix RAM chips. These each have a capacity of 16 megabits, which equals 2 megabytes, so we have 8 megabytes of RAM here. There's the chip which takes the MPEG-2 video and converts it to analog, composite, and S-video in either NTSC or PAL, the Philips SAA7121. And again, it has some features that are not enabled here, including closed captioning and teletext encoding, and even an internal color bar generator. And the rest of these chips are for the card readers and the USB input and output. And yes, according to the data sheets of these two chips, one of which was also made by Philips, it definitely only supports USB 1.1, not USB 2.0. It also has an unused pin header, maybe that was a serial port for debugging, and you can see a date of the 1st of April 2002 on the board. And on the bottom of the board are 2 CMOS SRAM chips and the audio chip. It includes both the analog to digital converter and the digital to analog converter and supports sampling rates up to 48 kilohertz.
When loading the airplane, do secure any items in the cabin that could hurt you or your passengers or damage anything where they're to be thrown around in turbulence or in a less than gentle stop. We strap ourselves in for good reason, and the reason is just as good for baggage. A friend of mine used to carry a heavy tool chest in his Bonanza, unsecured, until he flew into the rough one day and the chest moved about the cabin and broke out a window. We used or followed a checklist for the pre-flight, and the same should be done once you settle into the pilot's seat and get ready to fly. A pilot who uses a printed or electronic checklist each and every time is less likely to leave a stone unturned. They are not for sissies or those with memory loss.
As for using it with a more modern computer, Pinnacle has a Windows 7 driver for the DCS-200 on their website, but it's only for 32-bit systems. So your best bet will be to stick with Windows XP. And just about any PC from the mid-2000s, such as this ThinkPad X60, should be perfectly capable of capturing standard definition video. Now I'll show you some of the still sealed 1991 version of the Sony Handy Guide to Handycam, originally from Circuit City. And there it is. Color, 35 minutes, digital hi-fi stereo.
The Sony Corporation of America is pleased to present
You know, if you're like me, you've really been wanting a camcorder to preserve those priceless, once-in-a-lifetime memories.
And by choosing a Sony Handycam, you've made the right choice, and you're well on your way to capturing those irreplaceable moments to relive anytime you choose.
Avid, who bought out Pinnacle, who bought out Dazzle, still has what they call a critical update for the Dazzle Movie Star software on their website. But the only real difference I notice is that we now have some extra options to choose from when capturing video, including TV format, although the only choice that's active right now is NTSC, probably because I have an NTSC camera connected to it. I'll try it with a PAL camera later. And also bitrate. There's also this test utility, and when you start capturing using that, it actually tells you what it's doing during that long delay when it initializes the capture. It says connecting filters and downloading microcode, which makes me think it might be possible to reprogram this device to add extra features. And this test utility gives us far more options, such as the ability to manually switch between NTSC and PAL. We can choose different resolutions. We can choose MPEG 2 or MPEG 1, and we can switch between S-Video and Composite. We can change the audio sampling rate, and here's where you can change the bitrate of the video, although I discovered that you can't really go above about 6.5 megabits per second. For example, here I set it to 7 megabits, and you can see it's constantly dropping frames and glitching. And here I set it to 6 megabits and it's working fine, so somewhere between 6 and 7 megabits is the realistic maximum video bitrate for this device. I now have it connected to a PAL video camera, and it automatically detected the TV format as PAL-B. And the video file it recorded is 720 by 576 resolution at 50 interlaced fields per second, just as it should be for PAL video. Now I have my Tandy 1000 connected to the Dazzle, and the Dazzle's preview output connected to this monitor to check if there's any lag in the preview output, and I'm happy to report there is none. So this means the Dazzle is suitable for capturing video games and computer games while using the preview output to monitor the action, because there's no lag, so it's not going to impair your gameplay. Overall, I've been very impressed with the Dazzle DVD Creation Station 200. Now, am I recommending that everybody run out and buy this 22-year-old piece of hardware to do all of their video digitization? Obviously not, but it's an example of how the hardware in this box was basically a solved problem over 2 decades ago. It's just the software that came with it that was a bit rough around the edges, and obviously USB 1.1 imposed a bottleneck on the maximum bitrate you could get out of this. It's also unfortunately an example of how, due to the decline in general consumer interest in analog video, USB video capture devices haven't really gotten better since this was made in 2002. They've just gotten cheaper, because now they're expecting one tiny little chip to do all the same work as an entire circuit board full of components. And if you've seen the quality of the results I've gotten with the Elgato and compare them with the quality of the results I've gotten with the Dazzle, you know that's just not going to cut it. And if you think this video capture device from 2002 is ancient, thanks to a tip from a viewer, I found another video capture device from 1998, which gives you even higher quality results as long as your computer has a FireWire port. But more on this later. And since you are probably wondering, I'll leave you with the little sample of how TV Guardian deals with this.
Ugh. What's the matter? There's no meat in this. Girls want.
And after all I did for that kid.
After what we all did. I told him loud and clear.
Told him what?
You're just... Be quiet, Michael. He used you, and he took from you, and he never gave back a thing. I said be quiet. And this is the thanks you get for saving his life. If you ask me it wasn't worth it, you might as well have just left him lying there.
Recap leading to the surprise punch that landed mighty Mike Novotny on his keister.